Hey, it's Coach Latham, your geometry coach, and today we're going to be doing Geometry Lesson 2, Slope, Distance, and Midpoint. Now, a word about Lesson 1, you don't see a video on that. It's the same one as Algebra Lesson 1, and that's the one where we get acquainted with the calculator. So go back and do that lesson as well. And today we're going to talk about three of the most important things in geometry. Slope, what's the inclination of a line or what direction are you going? Distance, how far it is between 2 points, and midpoint, what's halfway between those 2 points. The first thing we're going to do is talk about slope. We've got some lines here, or line segments on the picture, and I just want to highlight that this one right here appears to be going up from left to right, so that has a positive slope, as does this one. This one's going up from left to right, so it too has a positive slope. We read lines from left to right, so if they're going up, they have positive slopes. This one right here has a negative slope. It's going down from left to right, as does this one. Now we got a couple of tricky ones. If it's going directly across or it's a horizontal line, then that is said to have a slope of 0. And if it's going vertical up and down just like that, that is said to have an undefined slope. You'll often get a problem on your SOL test where you'll get a line and you have to classify it as a positive, negative, 0, or undefined slope. Go ahead and hit pause for a minute and see if you can tell which line is positive, negative, 0, and undefined slope. All right, we're back. And this red one right here, the vertical one, that's the undefined slope right there. The green one is going directly across. It has a slope of 0. So the green one is 0. The one that's going up from left to right, the yellow one, has a positive slope. And the one that's going down from left to right has a negative slope. Now, it's not enough just to say what the slope is. You have to actually get the number for it. And the important part of this is that when you look at a line that's graphed in the coordinate system, you have to find places where it crosses a grid mark, like right here, it's right there, and it looks like it goes right through there. Now, when you take a test, often the points that you're going to find best to use are where it crosses the axis. So slope is the inclination of the line. It's rise over run, so it's how many steps up or down it is per how many steps over. So once you've determined your 2 spots that you're going to do, you just start there and you go up 1, 2, 3 steps, and you go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So since you go up 3 steps and over 4, then the slope of this line is 3/4. Up 3 over 4. Let's take a look at another one. Here's a line. Obviously, we know going into this that it has a negative slope, and we're going to figure it out going from this point here to this point here. So we'll go ahead and draw or take our steps. We go down 1, 2, 3, 4. We went down 4. We'll go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So since we went down 4, it's going to be negative 4 on top of the fraction. And we went over 5 steps, so the slope of this line is negative 4/5. Go ahead and hit pause and calculate the slope of this one. All right, we're back, and I'm going to use this point right here as my starting point, and I'm going to finish right here. So when we calculate the slope here, we'll start walking up from this dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go over 1, 2. So we went up 4, over 2. Now 4 over 2 looks a little funny to us because on the first 2 problems, those fractions were in reduced terms. In this case, we can simplify 4 divided by 2, and the slope is 2. If you look back at this graph carefully, you'll see that 4 over 2 really is 2. Let's say we're going from here. We go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So the slope for this line is 2. Let's try one more for good measure. Go ahead and take a look at this yellow line. Note that it doesn't have a clear-cut answer here, so you're going to have to pick a couple of other grid points and see if you can calculate the slope. All right, we're back, and I'm going to go ahead and use this dot right here. I'm going to put a dot right here because to me it looks like it crosses the grid line right there. And I'll go ahead and put a dot right here. So these are the two dots that I'm going to use to calculate the slope. Now you could have used two other dots and you'd still get the same answer. When I calculate the slope, I go up 1, up 2, and then over 1. So the slope for this line is going to be 2 over 1, which is just 2. So this line has a slope of 2. Now, I also have the coordinates of these points over here. Now, this point right here that I finished at is the point 1, 5. XY coordinates over 1 up 5. And the point that I started at right here was the point 0, 3. I noticed that if I take 5 minus 3, which are the y coordinates, I get the steps that I took up. And if I take 1 minus 0, the x-coordinates, that tells me the number of steps that I took over. So there's going to be something to this subtraction here that will help me with the slope formula. The slope formula says that you can find the slope of any line by subtracting the y-coordinates on the top and the x-coordinates on the bottom. So here I don't have a picture of the line, but I do have the ordered pairs of 2 points on the line. So all I need to do to find the slope of the line that contains these 2 points is subtract the y-coordinates on the top and subtract the x-coordinates on the bottom. And when I do this, I have to remember that I'll do my top calculations all together and my bottom calculations all together. On the top, I have 4 minus negative 3. You can punch that into your calculator and you're going to get a positive 7. And on the bottom, I have 5 minus 3, which is 2. So the slope for the line that contains these 2 points is 7 over 2. Go ahead and follow the same model, hit pause, and try to find the slope for this line that goes through these 2 points. All right, we're back. Again, if I'm going to do this problem, I subtract the y's on the top. I subtract the x's on the bottom. And I work it out from here. Negative 5 minus 2 is going to give me negative 7. 5 minus 3 is 2, so the slope is negative 7 halves. Let's try one more for good measure. Hit pause and calculate the slope between these 2 points. All right, we're back. The y-coordinates are negative 2 and negative 2. The x-coordinates are 7 and 3. And so when you do the math on this, you're going to find that negative 2 minus negative 2 gets you to 0. And 7 minus 3 is 4. And 0 divided by anything means that you have a slope of 0. So when we graph these 2 points, we would see that they're connected by a horizontal line, which is what we said had a slope of 0. One other way that you need to know to find the slope, and this is really just memorizing what you learned last year in Algebra 1, is that when an equation is in slope-intercept form, the number that's in front of the x, when it's in slope-intercept form, is the slope. So in this first equation, the slope is 1/3, which means that this line is going to go up 1 over 3. That's what a slope of 1/3 means. Sorry about the bad handwriting. And as a bonus, the number on the end is the y-intercept, so it goes through the y-axis at 4. Go ahead and hit pause and see if you remember how to fill in that for the rest of these. It's a pretty good review from Algebra 1 graphing. So again, sorry about the handwriting, but you can tell what the answers are here. This one has a slope of 2, and that means that it goes up 2 over 1, and the y-intercept is -1. This one has a slope of -3/4, it'll be going down 3 over 4. It has a y-intercept of 3. Now this one right here is a little tricky. It says y equals x plus 3. That's the same thing as 1x plus 3. So if the slope is 1, that means you go up 1 over 1, and it had a y-intercept of 3. Minus x means -1 or -1x, so the slope's -1, which means it goes down 1 over 1. This one's missing the x term, so it's 0x. It's got a slope of 0, which is a horizontal line. And this one, right, and it's kind of askew here. This one has a y-intercept of 8. And then this one right here, y equals 2x. It's got a slope of 2, but let's see, it's off the screen there, but the y-intercept for this one is 0 because there's no number on the end. All right, so that's part 1 of lesson 2, which is all about slope. You need to be able to find the slope when you look at a graph. You need to be able to find the slope when you're given 2 points. And you need to be able to find the slope when you're given the equation of a line. You also have to know the 4 cases of slope. If you look at a line, you need to know whether the slope is positive, negative, 0, or undefined. So come back for lesson 2, part 2, where we'll talk about distance.